Well, good morning, everyone. Man, this bike looks really grown on me. And when I first saw it, I was like, it's kind of ugly, but it has grown on me now, and I genuinely like the way it looks. So what I want to do today is go over at least 12 talking points, and I actually do have a few extras. I just bought this bike yesterday, and I said this is my first ride impressions, which it really is, because I made some notes on my phone because I was just really excited, couldn't sleep easily last night. I have 6 miles on it. There was 1 mile on it when I bought it. There were 3 miles on it when I left my house and came to this beautiful field. So, first thing I want to talk about that I noticed when I first was looking at the bike, when I'm like, yes, I'm buying it, it's the shifter and the foot pegs, okay? And I was like, man, those are kind of ugly. But let me tell you, when you're on the bike, they feel really nice. They feel really nice. I want to go ahead and just say that I'm not going to be comparing this bike to any other bike. I'm going to be more referencing it, because I think the more you look into this bike, the more you realize it's kind of its own thing. It's not really, competing with the Tanneray or anything like that. But I'll cover that in a minute. The first thing I noticed when I sat on the bike is that I've never heard anyone talk about is the windscreen. The windscreen almost has like this zoom effect, and maybe it's because I'm not used to looking through windscreens. This is my first adventure bike. I came from sport bikes and then dirt bikes, and then I had the CRF 300L, and I would not have this bike if it weren't for the 300L, because I never would have known that this is what I wanted. I'm going to interrupt my other point real quick. This guy is awesome. I live in a condominium, and I have to push it off my porch. First of all, I have to pull it off my porch and then push it up a slight hill. So that's why I didn't want a bike any heavier or bigger than this. It's kind of perfect. It's heavy enough to feel substantial, but it's not bad to push around with the motor off. I'm a relatively strong guy, so take that with a grain of salt, but I would think most people should be able to push this bike if they need to. All right, that gets me back to number 3. So after I first noticed the windscreen, I noticed that before I even really rolled the clutch out. This bike is just incredibly smooth, and it has a phenomenal clutch. The clutch is super easy to pull in, which is important. If you've ever been stuck in traffic, maybe some people like a really heavy clutch. You can manipulate this all day, and be happy, and your forearms won't be cramping up or anything like that. It's already got some dust on it. The bike feels light once it's moving. I mean, it's really hard to describe. I don't want to say it feels like a Honda 500 or something, but it doesn't feel as big as it is, which it is a mid-sized bike. And when I first saw this bike and I walked into the dealership, it felt a lot bigger than it did the second time around. So if you first come in and look at this bike and you're like, man, this, it's just a big bike, it might be too big, because I don't know what your needs are. So I'm just telling you how I feel. Everything I'm saying is my opinion based on riding no other adventure bikes. So take that with a grain of salt. I have been riding since 2010 or so. So, but mainly on sport bikes, and then, like I said, dirt bikes and stuff. So this is an unbiased opinion. I have no reason to just go on and on about how wonderful this bike is if it's not true. And it is, so far, it's been wonderful. 6 miles in, it's been wonderful. I can already tell you I'm going to like this bike. I'm going to enjoy riding it a lot. The other point is, so coming from a 300L, this seat height is technically taller, but it does not feel like it. I'm 5'9". I have about a 30-inch inseam. I don't know if you can see my feet. My heels are not on the ground, but it is not as tall as the specs make it out to be. Make sure we're still going here. Yep, we're still going. It is not as tall as the specs make it out to be, or it doesn't seem that way anyway. So it's not tall like the Africa Twin. I always wanted the Africa Twin, but for me and what I want to do, I think this bike's better for me. Let's see. Let's get on to point number 7. How easy it is to ride. Yeah, It's very easy to ride. Like I said, coming from mainly riding my 300L, it was my favorite bike. I felt right at home at this. The clutch, the bite point, everything is very similar yet smoother. I mean, this whole bike, if you were to just summarize this bike, it's smooth. The acceleration smooth, the power smooth, the handling smooth, the ride smooth. The engine's, like, as far as vibrations go, it's very smooth. I've never ridden a smoother bike than this ever in my life. Point number 8. This is probably the most fun one. I've never had a quick shifter before. Do you need a quick shifter? No, but it for sure made this bike at least 10% more awesome right out of the gate. So the quick shifter is very nice. It's very fun. It does go up and it does also go down. So that's been really cool. And quick shifter smooth. I just have everything on its stock settings. I haven't changed the quick shifter settings or any of that. I want to point out another thing. The automatic turn signals are awesome. And this little kickstand indicator is the coolest thing I think I've ever seen. I didn't realize that until I already owned the bike. But how many times, I'm speaking from experience for me, maybe some people never have this problem, I find it unlikely. How many times have you gone to go and you're in first or second gear and the kickstand's up? And so you gotta, I mean, it's a very ridiculous thing to like complain about, but it's so nice to just be like, oh, boop, kickstand's up or kickstand's down. That's just, what a good idea. That's such a good idea. I'm just blown away by it. I haven't changed any of the power settings. I have only ridden it in standard. So everything I'm hitting on, the see, I forget what EB is. I can't remember what that is, but I will. So traction control is not all the way up, but I did floor it in here, and that's kind of interesting. Floor it. I full throttled it. Let's get on to point number 9. Sorry if I'm jumping all over the place. I'm excited, and I'm not really prepared for this review, but I've had a lot of my friends ask me, man, please make a video. That's you've got to make a video. I've got friends all over the country, and they're like, man, we really want to see it. We want to hear what you think. So, not that my opinion matters too terribly much, but I will happily tell you what I think. Point number 9, the controls feel and appear premium. These are really nice. These are really nice. So I was so impressed with how nice the controls are. Keep in mind, I've never had a bike anything like this. It certainly doesn't feel like a $10,000 Honda. Okay, I bought my CBR 600 and it was like $12,000 back in 2016. So more expensive than this, and it didn't. I mean, it had nothing near the technology package and just the convenience. All these buttons are in nice places. I like that the horn is very little, like it should be. Instead of that huge horn that your Grimes and your CRF road bikes have, that big old horn there. I hit it all the time, and I'm not crazy about it. I was so impressed by the design of this bike. I was like, man, whoever put this bike together, whoever designed it, really knew what the core things that you want in a bike are. So I even Googled it, and it was designed by Honda's Italian R&D department in Rome. They designed the Transalp 750. The design team aimed to create a balance between aerodynamic performance and wind protection at speed, while also providing a sense of lightness and freedom at low speeds. And that's a good point. So coming from sport bikes, I haven't full throttled this bike or anything like that, but the power's there. It has plenty of power. I mean, you're doing 60, 70, 80 miles an hour if you're riding freely without really trying, just lugging the bike down. I haven't tacked it out or full throttled it or anything like that. So if you're worried about the power of the bike, it is. And here's where it gets so nice. Even though it has a decent amount of power and can go very fast, it is also very easy to ride slowly. So the problem that I've had with like crotch rockets, for example, is they're very fast, but they're not enjoyable, and they don't really like to do 45, 50 miles an hour if that's just what you want to do. The bike just doesn't shift well, at least to me, in my opinion, compared to this. It doesn't shift well, and it's not really content just doing 45, 50, where this bike is. But if you need to get around someone, or you're in a hurry, no problem. This bike's got you. It's as fast as it needs to be, and I will leave it at that. Actually, I came on one wheel that time from standing up. The biggest question, probably the most common question that I've got, is how is the suspension? A lot of people say that. It does have the Showa suspension, and this is also coming from someone I put full race tech. I spent like $1,600 in my race tech suspension for my 300L, which was very excellent suspension. So I feel like I have a foot to stand on, so to speak, when it comes to that. The suspension is probably absolutely perfect for road use. I don't think I've ridden a bike so far, and keep in mind, I'm coming from sport bikes and stuff, so I'm not comparing this to any BMWs or Ducatis or Aprilias or the Tenere or any of that stuff. I love all bikes. I think they're all great, but the suspension on this is very comfortable, and it is certainly adequate. I weigh about 230 pounds, so solid muscle. Yeah, I'd like to think so. But I weigh about 230 pounds, and the sag and everything on the bike, I haven't ridden it enough to really know, but the sag seems pretty much there. I might tweak with something later on, but it's going to take me several hundred miles to decide if I need to do anything or not. So the suspension is very good. I could see how if you're doing really aggressive, like you're not going to do it on these tires. You need to get way more aggressive tires and then ride the bike like a motocross bike or a trail bike, and you'd have to push it really hard. I think this is the most off-roading I've done with it, but just based on previous experience and how soft the 300L suspension was, it's way better than that. The 300L stock suspension kind of sucked. That is not the case with this bike. The suspension is perfectly fine. Don't even think about upgrading it unless you're doing trial stuff or just going really fast on off-road and on bad off-road at that. I'm sure gravel roads and stuff, it's fine. So suspension's good. Don't worry about the suspension. You shouldn't really have any complaints with that. Want to bring up one more point. One way I've decide if suspension is good and needs to be worked on anymore. I've never heard anyone else do this. It probably might be because I have a touch of autism, but I will hit speed tables in a neighborhood just on one of my routes that I commute on. I'll hit those at 50 or 60 miles an hour. I would not do that on the CBR 600. You probably could do it, but I'm sure you might lose control if something doesn't go perfect. This bike hit it just like my CRF 300L with the Racetech suspension. You just hit it pretty much at any reasonable quick speed, and you're going to roll right over that, and no problem. The bike doesn't get upset. It turns really, really good. I can't brag enough on how well it handles. It handles awesome. Let me summarize this, then I'll get back to bragging on it some more. And we're going to go for a quick ride. I'll probably take it to work. One of my favorite things to do is commute. I have a better time getting to work than everybody else who's not on a motorcycle, is how I feel about it. So in summary, this bike is very fun and enjoyable, fantastic handling with an excellent sounding engine and exhaust, and the intake just sounds the intake and the exhaust combined sound amazing. they really do. It's a really nice sounding motor. It's very nice, and the way it puts on the power, right when the torque curve rolls out, the horsepower picks up. I think is the best way to describe it. So people talk about linear, and they're kind of just talking about the total power delivery. But this bike's got some really good down low torque, and that torque curve, right as it's peaking out, the horsepower picks up, and oh man, it's got a really good power curve. So let me start over on the summary. Very fun and enjoyable, fantastic handling with excellent sounding engine and exhaust. Power delivery being excellent while still being relatively affordable. So you can cut the video right now if you want to. I'm going to go for a ride. You guys are welcome to tag along with me. But that's basically all you need to know. Another thing I have noted, this is my first bike in a while that has a metal fuel tank. So I usually take Velcro and put this bag. Maybe this bag isn't the right bag for the bike. We'll worry about that later. But it does kind of slide around. If I decide I want to keep this bag on this bike, I'm going to Velcro it and not worry about it anymore. Before I get going, though, I do want to make a little bit of, I don't want to say comparisons, but let me say this. My dad gave me a 2002 Bandit 1200 when he passed away in 2012. And that was the first bike I really started riding and learning about motorcycles on. He had a Gixxer 750 then, but I was just a little too young to really ride it and enjoy it. This seat reminds me of the Bandit seat. It's very much almost the same design. It's about the same width, and that is a wonderful thing. The Bandit seat's wonderful. This seat is wonderful. Another reason I got this bike is I do want to ride with my wife on the back if she, whenever the mood suits us. I don't know if I said I like this, but I do like this. When you're pulling the bike off my porch, the handles are very nice. So I did want to point that out before I forgot it. And it's very much a touring bike. But the other thing I love so much about it is while the bike is still powerful and it does all the things it can do, it's still just as easy to ride as like the CRF 300, probably easier. So when I say easy to ride, what am I talking about? I'm talking about just throwing a leg over the bike, going for a quick ride, or just running to the store to get something really quick. There's not a lot of thought process necessary to ride this bike. It's not too tall. It's so easy to ride. I'm just going to leave it at that. So it's very convenient. It's also going to be a fantastic commuter bike. I think it's going to be terrific at everything I want it to be terrific at, without going too far into spoiling. Listen to that. I don't know if we're going to stop and get gas today or not. I need to go to the DMV and get a tag. I'd like to do that today. I got some stuff I need to do, so I'll probably get some fuel when I do that. Just take a little bit longer lunch. I haven't messed with any of the settings, like at all. I haven't changed anything on here. I don't really yet know how. I need to just, with it on the battery tender, I need to just tinker with it and get familiar with it. I really don't want to mess with anything right now because I don't really want to change anything from standard and stuff, at least for this kind of little review and for this first ride, and we're just not doing that today. Let me show you something interesting. Full throttle. like with the traction control on. That's really nice. I also have never had traction control. I've never had ABS. So I've never been opposed to them, but I kind of just never thought it was necessary. I did engage the ABS accidentally on my way to the spot this morning. One of those lights that I had the turn signal, and then the turn signal, I was just in a weird spot, so I ended up hitting the brakes. I'm like, well, this will be good. Let me hit the brakes and see what happens from there. It's ABS is nice. I'll give it to it. ABS is very nice. I guess I'm going to go ahead and take this bad boy to work and get there early, and you guys can tag along with me, and I'll try to do my best between shutting up and pointing out things that I'm enjoying about the bike. This bike's name's Alpy, by the way. I sent a picture of it to my buddy who has a V-Strom 1000, and he's like, Alpy, and I was like, is that his name now? With some laughy faces, and he's like, yeah, I guess so. I was like, I like it. Alpy's nice. So quick shifter from first to second is a little, I think it's always going to be like that. You got to get more in the gas. Look at that, 69. I was not even in the gas whatsoever and short shifting like crazy. Quick shifter down. I mean, we're doing 75 miles an hour like it's nothing. So, lots of power. Ooh, I might want to buckle my helmet. I unbuckled it to make sure the GoPro was going earlier, but, whew, that's not good. Have to pull over and buckle the old girl. Maybe I can do it here at this red light. I mean, just, I feel like I'm right at home on this bike. It's so easy to ride. My trips have been getting longer lately, so that is why I got rid of my 300L. I found myself on these back roads, and I live in South Alabama, so I found myself in the back roads in Mississippi because it's probably some of the prettiest riding you can do on a really beautiful day. And the 300, while it did do 70 to 80 miles an hour, it would do it. I feel like it could do it all day. That was kind of it. So it was a little, I was happy with the power outside of, let me think here. I was happy with the power outside of interstate performance. Everything else was fine. So I'm not a very power hungry individual anymore. If you do have, you know, something like a BMW or a Ducati with 150 horsepower, I don't know if this bike would be weak for you. I still don't. It might not be exactly what you're looking for or what you want, but you would never get on this bike and be like, yeah, it needs more power, it needs to be faster. It's just not a thing. Hopefully the audio quality is pretty decent. I don't know. I'm new to this GoPro, getting it set up and having the mic in the helmet. Very nice. We're about to put it on the interstate here in the next probably 3 or 4 minutes. And I've never had this bike on the interstate before, but I'm sure it'll be just fine. It is also an extremely windy day. It has been wind gusts from 20 to 50 miles an hour since yesterday. It is calmer than yesterday, but it is still windy. So this is actually a really good test for how it does in the wind. Heavy wind. These are March winds. And my stepdad, my late and great stepdad, always said that March comes in like a lion and leaves like a lamb, or comes in like a lamb and leaves like a lion. And he was born in 1943. Not to say he knows everything or is right about everything, but I've always noticed every single year how true that statement is. So most other bikes, I want to point out, I've been on this road an awful lot. Most other bikes, I'm in top gear right here on this stretch. This bike is so highly geared, which is a good thing, by the way, that I'm in 5th gear, and I don't see the need to go into 6th. If anything, I could certainly be in 4th, and you're not winding anything out. So that's cool. After having bikes that just get wound out, even my 600 at 80 miles an hour, it was at like 8,000, 8,500 RPMs, and just and that God, it sounded nice, but it sure did get annoying after like 10-15 minutes. So I'm very happy with how quiet this bike is when you want it to be. This bike will get down. I'm gonna let it get a little bit warmer, and I'm still breaking the thing in, but we'll kind of do a little bit of an acceleration display here. Hopefully you guys like this and appreciate this. These are some points that I've pretty much watched every single video by all the big YouTubers, at least, about this bike. I've never known more about any vehicle before purchasing it as I did with this one. So my dealer doesn't do test drives. Maybe if you ask really nicely, you can shoehorn them into one. So I bought this without test driving it or anything. But thanks to so many of these great reviews, I had a really good idea of what I was getting myself into. And in a way, it's kind of still better than I thought it would be. I don't know if that's just because it's a new bike to me, but I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to see how many miles I can put on this bike. I can really think of worse ways to get to work. Look at these guys. They're not having as much fun as I am. Woo, that wind's vicious. That is not because of the bike. It is just because of today. Display some of this passing power here. We don't have anywhere to gallop, though. I will point out the mirrors are very nice. my last few bikes, I've always ripped the mirrors off. I will not be doing that on this bike. I probably might not even rip off the tail tidy. I'm 32 years old, going on 70, so I am kind of a pawpaw at this point. I don't think there's going to be any kind of running from the cops or trying to see how fast I can get this bike. I'm sure I'll get it to 100, 120 miles an hour at some point, but it won't be today. I've kind of had my fill on speed. Now it's all about enjoying the ride, and man, is it easy to do on this. I've heard that the fuel gauge is pretty accurate, so I'm certainly hoping so, because I have no idea how much gas they put in here. It was not a full tank. I thought it was, but it wasn't. Jesus Christ. One thing I wanted to make sure I pointed out, I forgot to do so, but talking about the power, every time you get in here, at least for me, a big old smile comes on my face, and it's been pretty consistent with that part. Lots of fun. Let's see how it handles this. Yeah. Can't really complain. I wish I could go a little bit faster. I am still on brand new tires, so I need to keep that in mind, but the bike wants to throw down. I don't have any canyons to carve here in South Alabama. I will be taking this bike to Tennessee and like North Alabama for sure, probably North Mississippi, but we don't have any canyons here. But if we did, buddy, I'd be carving them with this sucker. There's no doubt. Quick shift to 6. Nice. Very nice. See? Someone braking in front of me. Don't know what they're doing. Brakes are very nice. Very responsive. Very linear braking too. Everything on this bike's just smooth. Everything. The braking's awesome. It's a very safe bike as far as easy to ride, and you can trust it to stop you and keep you right side up. I'm gonna go ahead and say this bike's very excellent for that. Man, there is not usually this much traffic on this road at this time of day. Let's give this bike some steam. Get around some of these guys. Woo! I'm not going to be riding like an asshole the whole time, but you guys are seeing for the first time on this bike, as well as myself, what you can actually do with it. I did not get full throttle at all. Man, this bike just wants to go. What a absolutely terrific bike. Look at that. We're at basically exactly 5,000 RPMs at 80 miles an hour. That's remarkable. Dude, and the wind is on my 600. This I would be getting blown all over the road, especially on the 300. I'd have to fight a lot more to keep this bike going straight with this much wind. So this is wonderful. This is really wonderful. Now, this might sound ridiculous, but I've even toyed with the idea of later putting some kind of stereo system in here. I don't know if I'm just going to strap a JBL to the handlebars, but I could imagine on some group rides or not, that would be really awesome. I do have my Senna and my helmet, but I've always wanted a bike with a stereo system. I might just do the JBL thing. That way I can not alter the bike. Woo! Man, this bike is just excellent. I think you could ride all day on this thing and be happy about it. Be thirsty for more. I'm sure I could ride 300 or 400 miles and be like, yep, man, I sure wish I could still do some riding if I cut the ride early. My buddy lives in Huntsville, Alabama, and He's dating some new girl, so I'm not sure how that would work out. But I like to go up there every other month, every 2 or 3, 4 months. And I've never ridden a motorcycle to there. But I bet you I will with this. Man, I just want to get on this bike. I wish I was off all week. I would just ride this thing all day long. Easy clutch, easy. Yeah. Not too many bikes can just make you giggle from turning. Doing it in comfort too, man. This thing feels like a Cadillac. If you want to know how smooth this bike is, imagine getting a slab of butter on the table, getting a hot knife that's just been in really hot water and slowly cutting through it. That's how this bike feels to drive. It is so smooth. God, is it ever smooth. I'm passing my office right now, but I really don't need to be there quite yet, so we're just gonna keep going. Hey boss, I'm sick, I can't make it. Oh man. No, we're gonna go get some gas. I'm gonna go ahead and top it off. Plus it makes this video a little bit longer. I don't know how far in we are to it, but I don't really like cutting and editing videos. I feel like a lot of people do that, and they do a really good job of it, but it kind of makes a video feel generic. And I think in a way, if not done really well, you can lose touch with a lot of things. And I get why they do it. They cut it to make the video more interesting, cut the boring bits out, so I understand it's inevitable, but I really like to not edit if I can. For one, it's kind of annoying. You definitely you can't edit after having a few beers, you know what I mean? Or some people maybe can. I'm sure the people who've been doing it for a while certainly can, but I definitely don't want to. I feel like it would make the video horrible. Here I go ranting again. I usually don't rant. This bike is just, it's woken me up. This is the best cup of coffee you could have in the morning. This bike is sick. Alpy. Good old Alpy. Kind of gas station in the hood, but whatever. I've actually come to this gas station a lot, so let's see if there's anything I hate about filling it up. Oh man, I don't know what gas this thing uses. After all this time, let's find out what gas this thing uses, because I genuinely don't know. I know if I put 87 in here, it'll be fine. So I was just going on about how I don't like editing videos, and I'm sure I'm going to edit that out. Digging through my phone for a minute. Apparently this bike uses 91, so we're going to put 89 in it, I guess. I don't have any 91. I'm sure it'll be fine. After this tank, I'll look and see if I can get away with premium or what I need to do, or if 87's fine. I don't know. I know it won't hurt anything, especially not one tank, but and I wonder if this bike knows when I've refilled it, so it resets the trip. I'm going to have to look up how to view all of that, because when I'm riding distance, something my 300L did really good was it would show you how many gallons of fuel you've used with really good accuracy. And from what I understand, this bike does that as well. I just got to figure out how to do it. Another reason I've probably studied more about this bike than any other bike, is there's just so much to learn about. This bike does a lot of stuff. It has a lot of features. So, $9.80. I don't know how much. Woo, $3.69 a gallon. Jesus Christ. Sounds like a lot for 89. Because look, regular, 87's $2.90. It goes up by like 70 cents just for that. It's kind of crazy. Well, it's not. Gas isn't going to be as cheap as it was for the 300. I don't like that. Not that it really matters, but I guess it kind of makes sense that it's got a higher octane, because this engine does perform very good. So it does make sense. Hopefully my motor doesn't blow up from improper gas. Why is someone always in my way? All I want to do is hit some curvy roads at relative speed. And you've got to be right here in my way, buddy. Well, guys, that I'm gonna call it that for this first video. Thank you for tagging along with me. If you will, like and comment and subscribe and all that stuff. But what I really genuinely would like to know is if anybody has a question about this bike that nobody else has covered. I'll be happy to answer it, or at least find an answer, or at least give you my opinion on it. So thanks, guys. My name's David Madison, and it's been a pleasure reviewing this Alpine with you guys. I will see you on the next one.